Hello and welcome. A lot of you joined after the mayoral election, and I want to touch on that briefly before introducing this new medium. The mayoral election was an opportunity for San Antonio to change its economic direction. For the past 36 years, our economy has lagged because of decisions made within our political landscape. And in that space lies an intersection with the private sector. My message throughout the campaign was about revitalizing our economy and rebuilding the private sector. To do that, you have to tear down the current structure and rebuild it from the ground up. Let me explain that briefly. The lifeblood of a candidate's race, whether for a mayoral or a city council race, depends on campaign donations, often coming from individuals who control key parts of the private sector. They might own real estate or operate within industries that drive local economics. When you run a campaign that challenges that system, a system that hasn't worked for the average citizen for well over 50 years, your chances of winning are low, unless, of course, you pander to those who failed our system. Why some individuals decide to succumb to these illegitimate forces? Well, that's for you to research. I question why Henry Cisneros is still speaking on behalf of the city when his ideas have failed at the very footsteps of our local economy. Why council members who once preached zero-based budgeting are now asking for your votes while rejecting those very principles. And why local political pundits are calling on you to support projects we all know were built in dark rooms and private conversations. This is your moment to challenge the status quo. Our economy deserves competition because when it comes to economics, competition is always good for the taxpayer. I decided to create this new platform, a podcast called Political Machine. For this first episode, I invite two guests. Sakib, Shaikh, who also ran for city council this past year, and former councilman Greg Brockhouse. I wanted them on because many of the issues that are affecting San Antonians today aren't being discussed in depth. Take Project Marvel, for example. You hear about it in forums, but the conversations often feel like an echo chamber. The same information repeated without real dialogue or perspective on what the project truly means for the citizens of San Antonio. So my hope is that you listen to this first episode with an open mind, that you gain a new perspective different from what you've heard across traditional media. Because without these conversations, we stay in the same place. And sometimes real change requires going against the grain, even when it's uncomfortable. I want to thank Greg and Sakib for joining me, and I hope you enjoy this first episode of Political Machine. All right, we're rolling. First episode of, I guess we'll call this Political Machine. It's been a minute, but I used to run the Guru Prasari podcast, and we used to bring on relevant people throughout the city of San Antonio. Given the stature of San Antonio's current position, I think it was important for the three amigos to come in and get on the microphone and just talk.
You said relevant. I mean, this guy's relevant. You're relevant. I don't know about myself.
No, now he's already starting with the humble pie. No, I think, sorry, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Thank you, though.
I'll introduce myself, Mau Sanchez. I run a investment firm here in town, registered investment advisory by the name of Portfolio Capital. I ran for mayor this past year. And yeah, that's me.
Sakib Shaikh, business owner, community advocate, and I ran for city council in District 8 this past year.
How did that go?
I didn't make it. I missed the runoff by 77 votes, but it was the best experience of my life. And if I had the opportunity to do it again, I would 100% jump at it.
All right, and I am Greg Brockhouse, a lifelong San Antonian, former member of the San Antonio City Council. I represented District 6. I did run for mayor as well. Fortunately, losing in the closest election in the history of the city of San Antonio to Ron Nirenberg. Not that I'm still hanging on to that 6 years later, but it is there. Now, kidding aside, I do politics, marketing. I'm kind of just a self-employed guy hustling around, doing the best I can to earn a buck and help San Antonio be the best it can possibly be. And I like to say what I think. So politics and marketing is my jam. So I'm happy to be here with you today.
Appreciate that. I don't want to be the guiding force behind this conversation. I think it should be a mix of the trio.
Okay.
So Sakib, I'm gonna let you start.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's talk about the thing we were talking about before we started, right? Project Marvel. That's the thing on everybody's mind. Where do you guys stand on it? I made a video just on my TikTok the other day where I was just talking about certain aspects of projects like Project Marvel, which are sometimes necessary for development because they bring, they may cost something up front, but they bring more down the line for the city, whether it's job creation or simple like beautification, right? Like even just spending money on making the city beautiful is not money wasted. But this project doesn't feel like one of those projects. So I'm interested in y'all's takes.
Yeah, so here's the kind of the rub of what San Antonio has been for, 50 years. It's a leadership of misplaced priorities. And what we get nowadays with this Project Marvel and this new Spurs arena is we get a lot of high energy, misplaced priority. And by that, I mean, here are the Spurs, right? And I'll give you a great anecdote of information. Spurs have won 5 championships. A fantastic team, right? We know that they've been the best sports franchise in the history of sports, actually. To go on an unprecedented run in 1999, winning their first championship, and then 5 through 26 years. Amazing run. When the Spurs won their first championship, they were valued at about $175 million if you were to go out and buy the Spurs. Today, that's over $3 billion, their value. The city's poverty rate, right, and this is what we have to stand true in. And I like to bring and mingle in faith, and it's not a matter where your faith comes from. You believe in what you believe. But most faiths are going to have this basic principle that who describes you, what you are as a community, as a family, how you treat those of you that have the least speaks more to you than how you treat any other aspect of your life or your business, your politics, or whatever. So who has the least in our community, right? The poor, right? Our poverty rate when the Spurs won their first championship was 17.6%. Today it's 17.3%. So championships don't build great cities. Sports franchises don't build great cities. What builds great cities are its people. And so we get these Spurs coming around. It's flashy, it's Victor Wembanyama, and the council members get enamored with it. People want to invest money, save them. And the same neighborhoods that have suffered for 40 or 50 years are the same neighborhoods suffering now. And that, to me, is the grievance I will always lay at the foot of city leadership, which is you care about the wrong things. So my opinion on Project Marvel is much like Sakib's, which is just, who are we as a city? And this is what we are. We're the Spurs and nothing else. It makes no sense to me. And I'll always scream at the top of my lungs, we got to do better than that.
I don't know if you were going to say anything, but you said something very important. You said we care about the wrong things. Precisely, who cares about the wrong things? Because all of these actions, I think, are led by a certain group in the city, right? So let's define that. Who is it that cares about the wrong things, in your opinion?
Man, this is, we were joking earlier about there's always this running story that, I'll just say it, 12 white guys run the city. And they sit in dark, smoke-filled rooms, and they smoke their cigars. Actually, the room, I think, is what's that name of that joint on Broadway over here? Not the Little Red Barn, but the Barn Door. They all hang out there, and they mischievously plan the speakeasy. They plan the future of San Antonio. I mean, look, there's an old guard, definitely, right? And the beauty of politics and governance today is that city council is not beholden to any of these people anymore, by the way. So remember, when whoever's listening to this, remember, the people we elect at City Hall are not really representative of the entire city when only 12% vote. Right, so people are getting elected by less than 20% of the city. And then even then, they only get about 60% of the vote. So who's down at City Hall doesn't necessarily represent the true. We have 900,000 registered voters and 100,000 decide the score, right? They decide who leads who. So who's downtown doesn't really represent us either. The real power factions of the city attempt to move within the business community. That's why we see this overwhelming Spurs campaign, and all this money and the people behind it are the business, wealthy elite, and the development community, because there's a pipeline of cash and money to come from it. And they ignore the simple fact that neighborhoods have struggled all along. So who's running it? I mean, we know these people's names, right? But it's the business community. And I think that over the years, we've elected people who are no longer beholden. If you look at that city council, there's maybe 1 or 2 people down there that are beholden to these people anymore. So now we've got a different level and different kind of representation. I'm sorry, some of these stupid people, right, have felt like, oh, we'll extend the terms, and we're going to pay more council pay. And we're going to do all these things to manipulate this council. I'm referring to the business community.
Yeah.
In an effort to bring in more qualified and smarter and better elected officials. Because if I can pay them, well, then better people will come. And I think what they've gotten is they're starting to get a little bit closer to regular Joes running the city. And it offends them. If you go talk to anybody in the business community, they're offended by City Hall. Like, how stupid are these people to care about potholes in neighborhoods? So to me, and if you can tell, it irritates me big time, because I just think we don't, and when I say it's the wrong priority, billion-dollar sports arenas aren't the answer to what ails our communities. And by the way, this vote that's coming up in November, early vote starts on Monday. We'll run through the 31st, and then the election, of course, is the first Tuesday in November. A no vote is not a vote against the Spurs. It's not saying, hey, Spurs, pack up and leave. It's a vote of what are our priorities as a community. And how come all of a sudden 13 people drown on Beidle Creek because of infrastructure issues, and it's been months and we don't fix that? Spurs whine about going to Austin, and their luxury suites aren't nice enough, and here comes a $2 billion bond package, right? Like, it's offensive. And I think people are finally recognizing that. I'm not saying it fails. I'm just saying people have had enough. And Sakib and I go around this, and we're aligned on this issue, I think, to a certain extent. But I'd love to know, what you think about it, man.
Yeah,
because
so this we're seeing these kind of two sides forming all throughout the country, where it's like the elite, the business community are on one side. They live in one America, and then it's like everybody else. And then the business elites are the ones that actually have access to the decision makers. I mean, I was just looking at a video that somebody posted yesterday of public comments. People were making comments, but no council members were there.
Oh,
just
man.
the mayor.
I'm glad you said that. I don't want to cut into before you go any further. People need to know that. That's a hell of a point.
Wait, what was this?
Oh my God.
So yesterday, public comment,
Please
right?
expand on this for people to know
It's
this.
basically, it happens once a week, every Wednesday from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock or something. And you can go sign up as a resident and just say whatever you want. And
They were
council
late,
members,
weren't they?
What's that?
They didn't show up for the longest time or something like that, I read.
Yeah.
They don't show up at all.
No, my understanding is they didn't show up at all.
Oh, wow.
You're speaking to an empty room.
So it's like, who's
But
in charge
council
here?
wasn't there is what I'm saying.
Council wasn't there.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
There's always been a line of people with comments ready to speak.
Mm-hmm.
They take time out of their day. This is not their job, but because they love the city, they're citizens, they're proud of their city, they want to have a voice. But there was no one there to listen. Only the mayor was there.
It's when I went to Citizens to be Heard all the time. I would go and I would be one of
As a council member.
As a council member, I
Yeah.
went all the time. And there's maybe two people there, two other council members. It was the weirdest thing. This poor citizen just standing there in front of an empty set of chairs.
Yeah.
Saying what they believe, speaking to what they believe, by the way, these things are, these city council meetings, they're positioned at times where it's next to impossible for the community to engage. If you have a job, you're not going to show up at city council meetings, council committee meetings, Citizens to be Heard, you can't make it. So these things are not very accessible to the public. But people come and speak, and they say, hey, I feel about this about Project Marvel. And the only person there's the mayor or council member. But Sakib's actually right. It's embarrassing. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've always said, like, for instance, we should take the city council meetings on the road. We should hold them more convenient opportunities for people to engage. But, I got a question for you, Sakib, so Sakib and I talk about this all the time because we're different faith communities. I'm a Catholic, and I'll let Sakib speak to what he believes.
Muslim.
But
it wasn't obvious.
Yeah, but well, yeah, I guess so. I didn't want to, speak for you.
No,
But
you're
I
fine.
probably, he's a Muslim. But I'm anxious to see how it. So in my community, right, in the Catholic community, there's a lot of angst about Project Marvel, right, because of just the financial demographics of the Catholic community, the Catholic churches, Cops Metro's embedded in the Catholic Church. So talk to me a little bit, man, about how, as a Muslim and your faith, and do any of these things drive your decision making on these types of projects?
Good
and things?
question. Okay, so I'm 41 years old. Okay, and I'm of South Asian ancestry, and when my parents moved here, they were part of the first wave of South Asians to be allowed to come into America. So you won't meet a Muslim born in America older than me. Like it's this weird fact, right? So as our community is like gaining a foothold and understanding its place in whatever cities they reside in, the issues are starting to come to light. But first, what everyone is concerned with, and why a lot of South Asians, a surprising amount, end up being Republican, is because they're interested in business. They really want to do their own business. They don't want the government bothering them. They don't like all this paperwork nonsense. They don't like taxes. Just leave me alone. Let me do my business.
This is embedded in your culture, is what you're saying.
I mean, it's not in the culture. I would say it's more so because they're very recent immigrants. Like not, I mean, I'm talking 40 years ago, but they came. My parents came. My dad owns a convenience store, and he shuts everything else out and just cares about his business. And he wants the world to leave him alone. And that's kind of the overall sentiment that a lot of these immigrant communities will have, right? It's a recent thing that they start getting engaged and interested. People like Zoran Mamdani, for example. I mean, getting people involved, making them aware of the issues, making them have a voice. So right now, the community in San Antonio, I would say they're not as engaged as they should be with Project Marvel, because they're not looking at it. Another thing is we all primarily reside in the north side. So what happens in downtown? Downtown is basically it's a foreign country for most people in the north side anyway.
It's for most people, period.
For most people,
Downtown's for most.
And then when you talk about gentrification of the east side and rising cost of living without wages catching up, people aren't in tune with that issue because they're not thinking long term how it's going to impact the city.
Yeah. So, wow,
But
that's an eye-opening piece for me. I just think, because I'm kind of just reflecting on the fact, like in the Catholic community with Cops Metro.
Yeah.
So Cops Metro is one of the biggest organizing organizations, have been for 50 years. I think they had a 50-year anniversary recently. And their whole function is representation for the poor, for the West Side, South Side, for disadvantaged communities. And they used to have a lot of power decades ago. I think they've kind of waned, obviously, in the last few years. They're not as impactful as they used to be. A lot of their membership's getting older, so they kind of age out of relevancy. But they're embedded in Catholic churches, right? So they operate out of Catholic parishes and stuff like that, so they have access to the community. Most in San Antonio, there's really two organizations you go to find out who's struggling in a neighborhood. You go to, this is no bullshit, you go to the Catholic church, or a church, necessarily the Catholic church, but there's more Catholic churches and then you go to a school counselor. Like, school counselors seem to know everybody's business, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they talk to all the kids and always help people.
Yeah.
So the rising tide against Project Marvel is because of people getting left out. And so, it's like, it's another rule of thumb here, right? You think about downtown, you think about where the community over the years has built San Antonio. And that maybe you've heard the term redlining and stuff like that, right? Where socially and economically we take people and put them in areas where they're perpetually disadvantaged. And it's a birth lottery thing too, right? Like Sakib mentioned that the Muslim communities residing up in the north side, that's because they're business owners. See, here's the thing this is what makes them Republican, by the way. They're business owners.
Some.
Well, my friend is not a Republican, but they're business owners. In San Antonio, a lot of them lean Republican, though. A lot of Muslims do lean Republican, but I don't know the numbers, the majority or not. But they're business owners. Their faith they lead with their faith, right? Yeah. Sakib leads with his faith, and we've had this conversation so many times about faith and politics and Muslim versus the Jewish community in San Antonio versus, not a versus thing, but just it's more like a juxtaposing the two, right? Like how they both operate within each other's spheres. But this faith aspect, this community piece is what people are getting left behind, man.
Because they don't vote, or like in what sense? Because I'm trying to understand.
They don't vote.
You explained it, but
they're
it's
not
like,
voting.
Am I understanding it is that you guys just don't vote?
Don't engage.
No. So the Muslim community will vote in like federal elections because they care about foreign policy.
But city, it's just not.
It's more like just leave me alone.
Yeah, so that's welcome to San Antonio.
Yeah, I would say that's basically all San Antonio.
I mean, if 17% of the city is voting, that means literally everybody's basically on board with, hey, leave us alone.
Yeah,
right.
And it's a waste of my time, and I don't want to care because they don't listen. But these are historical things. It's like, why the West Side? Where did we put the jail when we built the jail? We put it in the West Side. Where did we put Haven for Hope? We put it in the West Side. Like, we specifically take things that hold communities down and put them in areas where communities will suffer perpetually. I mean, Haven for Hope is destroyed. It's the unhoused. I'm going to make sure I call it, but I think today's term is unhoused. It was homelessness last week, and this week it's unhoused. But the unhoused population, in Haven for Hope, I mean, it's a wonderful cause to do that. Plucked it right in the middle of one of the most toughest zip codes for poverty in the nation. There's no lie. It's in San Antonio.
Do you think that has more to do with where the majority of their clients would be?
No, I think it has a majority to do with who's got the money. Because you would never dream. It would never be thoughtful to put that thing up off of Paramvidal or put it out off of Wurzbach Parkway. They would never do it. They would be ran out of town.
Or Stone Oak.
Or Stone Oak. You would never put Haven for Hope in Stone Oak. Now, there's an accessibility issue to it and a land value thing. That's the other thing, too. But we've also cultivated the West Side to be a dirt poor side of town in land value. When the parcels are smaller, right? There's closer fence lines. Everything is built and in our city in a way that perpetuates poverty. So here come the Spurs, right? And they have a inclination. And here's how bad it is for San Antonio is that people really believe, and I think they're selling it right now. If the Spurs leave, we're nothing. I mean, Henry Cisneros.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Henry Cisneros, our allegedly greatest mayor in the history of San Antonio, was quoted in the paper saying, "Oh, if they leave, we're basically a bunch of buffoons. We're going to look ridiculous." I'm sorry, we're no. Like, at what point did you lose faith in San Antonio that we're not a sports team? I mean, it is what it is. But just, people need to chew on that fact. I know we want to hit another topic past Project Marvel, but let's just, maybe we go around, we close up where we're positioned on it.
Yeah.
My closing position on Project Marvel is, I'm not a no on the Spurs. I'm a no on priorities. If they had taken care of business the last 20 years, this would have been a slam dunk vote. That arena goes up, the Spurs are loved, there's no problem. But when people die on a highway due to flooding in the 7th largest city in the nation, in the middle of our city, we've got problems and we need to spend that money somewhere else. So I'm going to be a no on Project Marvel. Not because it's a no against the Spurs. I'm a no on it until we get our business right. And it's not the Spurs' fault to lead the city. It's not.
No. But that's what they're posing it as.
But they're posing it as,
oh, it's the Spurs' job to reinvigorate the economy here. And let me plug in and kind of give you my take in terms of looking at it from an economic development standpoint, right? And you compare, let's just say Texas. You compare any other city, and I ran on this in the campaign a lot. But to me, San Antonio is primed for an opportunity for any investor to come in and flip this and make a lot of effing money. I mean, when you think about it, right, in terms of economic development in the city, we're behind probably 15 years in comparison to Austin, Dallas, Houston. No investor could do what they're doing with Project Marvel and do the same thing in Austin or do the same thing in Dallas, right? There's too much competition when it comes to private equity, hedge funds, a lot of money moving. Who's competing, creating bidding wars? Now we got to up the bid. All of those perspectives make it a prime deal for any investor who comes in on the term sheet that Project Marvel has come on and say, hey, we put this much. This is pennies to what the opportunity is in 10 years, 20 years, in the duration of the 30-year bond, right? I think it's 30 years that they're projecting. So from an investor standpoint, we're behind. San Antonio citizens are getting a crap deal specifically because of that. And so when I think of, okay, Mayor Jones calling for time transparency, what that does, and I told you about this earlier this week, time and transparency, which I applaud her for, right? Like much like you, I don't agree with her on a lot of things. But time and transparency when it comes to an action such as Project Marvel allows investors to begin to look at the idea here. And the more investors look at it, that means greater competition, which means less burden on the taxpayer side, whether it's through HOT, sales tax, property tax, whatever it is. Less burden on the taxpayer because now investors are starting to compete. Well, I'm willing to put $500 million. The next investor comes in. Let's say 6th Street gets a competitive bid from Ares. I think it's Ares Management, another group. And Ares is like, well, we're going to put $750 million. City of San Antonio, will you sign this deal? And then another hedge fund comes in and says, well, hold up. We're going to put $850 million. Why? Because the 10 to 20 to 30 year projection on this, it's a slam dunk. And that's where San Antonio sits, right? To me, this isn't so much about an arena. This is about the real estate, the opportunity that San Antonio is positioned to benefit from in the next 30 years. And a vote of no only allows us to get better interest from investors. A vote yes to this deal, this is a crap deal. If you look at the terms on what the Spurs are paying in terms of rent.
Yeah, because so let's go down a few quick facts
Yeah.
here. The term sheet, before we go off, I mean, the term sheet itself is absolutely weak. I'm with Mayor Jones on time and patience and transparency. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I keep saying it. Like, I'm with Mayor Jones. I feel like I've sold out.
She never even
everything I
talks to me
stood for. She
Yeah,
never.
I agree. I know
listening to you talk about redlining and all that. You sound just like
I know. I'm a little bit out of control here. Please, we're gonna dub that out.
You kind of sound like her.
I need to run around MAGA for the next 2 days. As a joke. But the term sheet does cost. So the Spurs are putting in $500 million. They're going to cover cost overruns. The county's in for $311 million. The city of San Antonio's in for $489 million. And this makes up the $1.5 billion for the project itself. It's funded by hotel occupancy taxes and a project finance zone, which is a new law that broke into effect a couple of years ago, which allows money to go to convention centers and in a 3-mile radius that's dictated by the city's decision or choice. So here's a couple of key facts that you need to dig into, right? Which is number one, the Spurs say there are no new taxes. That's on its face, it's a lie. This is a tax increase paid for by the majority, yes, of visitor coming in, renting hotels and rental cars. But if you rent a car ever, or you pay a hotel rate as a citizen of San Antonio, you're paying taxes. So I think it's misleading. It's talking about new jobs, yet they can't quantify the jobs or the pay rates for how long they're going to go for. It's talking about an expanded rodeo. These are the Spurs' sales pitch. Nobody cared about an expanded rodeo
Prop A
ever.
and B is what you're referring to.
Yeah, nobody cared about the expanded rodeo. Well, not nobody, but the majority of people don't care about expanded rodeo until the Spurs needed a new arena. So the Spurs are using the rodeo to help get a yes vote. And what we've seen is yesterday, today's the 17th, 16th. Yesterday, a poll came out from UTSA saying right now the Spurs are at 40%. And the opposition's at 46. So clearly whatever the Spurs are doing from a campaign is not working. People are seeing through the crap. And all I encourage you to think about is, at the end of the day, the debt is owned by who? Who owns the debt?
us.
The Spurs are not going to cover our debt. And if we can't rent enough hotel rooms, that's the main thing that pays back the debt. So if we can't rent it, the taxpayer's on the hook. Right now, we average about 59% rental rates across the city, which means 40+% of our hotel rooms are never rented. That's consistent and dropping over the last 5 years. So be careful, be wary, dig into it, ask questions. But anybody tells you you're not responsible for this, there's nothing on the taxpayer, that's an absolute lie. Okay. And you have to dig deeper. Give Sakib, because I want to make sure we jump into something.
Yeah, no, I mean, my position is consistent with what it was during the campaign, which was at the time I leaned against it, and I'm still leaning against it. I don't think they made a good enough case. And I wish they would just be more forthcoming that, if this is going to be a tax on us, it's a tax on us. But at least what we should get out of it should be bigger than just an arena.
Are you a hard no or are you a soft no?
I'm a soft no, like a persistent soft no, because I want to leave the door
You're still
open.
flippable.
I'm flippable, but I mean, what's left to say?
Ooh, good point.
What's left to say? Like,
very good point.
Everything's out there.
And I'm a soft no too, because I do want the Spurs to stay.
Yeah.
And I would like them to have their arena.
Yeah.
Under our terms. End of story.
Yeah.
So I like the look of Project Marvel. I wish it would go bigger. I wish we did stuff like this 20 years ago. But the funding mechanism.
Somebody's got to fund it. That's the thing.
So
we all want development of downtown, right? Are we wrong? Like, I think that helps our economy.
Yeah.
I think the terms of where it's at and how it's done is what doesn't make sense.
Okay, so let's say, for example, I mean, without going too much into the same topic, let's take the Pearl, for example. Everybody likes to bring up the Pearl. It's like the gold standard of revitalization efforts. It's a mixed-use development, all 100% privately funded. There's nothing in Project Marvel. I don't see the potential for shops. I don't see the potential for walkability. I don't see the potential for mass transit. I mean, there's just nothing really revolutionary about this. It's just, a little corridor of downtown or a little, multi-stop point where a new building, an expanded convention center, and the Alamo Dome gets some renovation, and there's a land bridge. Am I missing something?
No, that's all there is. And they're banking on this growth, right?
Yeah.
And the sales pitch was the same for the SBC Center, 25 years ago when we built that out. And don't forget, it's in the term sheet. In 10 years or 12 years, we have to come back and renovate this new arena. They're going to come back for another $200 million. So this doesn't end with this project or this bond or finance package. And I think where people have messed up is it's a terrible campaign. And Sakib's absolutely right. Tell us what you really believe and put the right people in front of us to tell us. I think who they've chosen to speak about this is a joke. The face of their campaigns they're terrible. The campaign look, I mean, even down to the sign.
Is that you're referring to like Spurs Jesus? Or
yeah, I mean, just everybody, all of them. They're not representative of what San Antonio voters are looking for. Spurs Jesus, yeah. But you know, straight down to the sign doesn't make sense. Like, it's very misleading, but that's what the power brokers bank on. They bank on low information, turnout, whatever. I know I can control my 17%. It's going to cost, I got $2 million to win this campaign, and I got to get 9% of that vote. So they cater to that.
Before we hop out of that, who is the face of like this whole idea? I was being sarcastic about Spurs Jesus.
There's multiple faces, right? You got Peter John Holt, who I think is a terrible salesperson for this. You don't need, he's guy's not representative of San Antonio. And it's no disrespect to him. Fantastic businessman from a fantastic family. Not the face of San Antonio. Doesn't look like any of us. He's got more money in his couch than most San Antonians have in a year. So you don't got, and he's out there telling people, well, you got to do this. He literally said, you're going to have to do this. Bobby Pettis, who is a former council member and is the Spurs legal counsel, he's a good man. Doesn't make this, not a world of sense. Trish DeBerry doesn't look like San Antonio. I'm sorry, due respect to Trish. She's a lifelong San Antonian too, but these people, and a good friend of mine, I mean, these folks don't match what the actual voter conversation is and the voter in this issue alone. And you can go right down the list. Carlton Souls is out there talking about.
So this goes back to the two Americas conversation.
The people selling it are not San Antonio.
Yeah.
I mean, they are San Antonio residents, some cases lifelong, but they're not speaking to San Antonio issues. That's why they're losing currently.
They're the 1%.
They're the 1%. So they're going to flood the market with campaign material now to try to save it. I think it may squeak by. And so be it. I mean, it's a lesson learned. If it fails, it's got to go back to Mayor Jones and the team, and we're going to see who's going to grow a pair and actually, you know, stand up and not be, you know, mesmerized by the San Antonio Spurs. Who cares? Like,
nobody has stood up on council, by the way, right? Besides Jones.
Terry's come out pretty fervently.
Okay.
Jalen has the temporary
against it.
Yeah, the temporary council member who sat in the chair for Jalen. Mungia was asking questions. I mean, so there's fair people digging in. It's just, you know, you're overwhelmed by the machine. People, which makes no sense to me. When I was down there, I mean, these lobbyists and the donor class and all that. I mean, bro, they can only give you $500. Like, are you bought and paid for over $500? But, you know, baby, look, it's a great topic.
Man.
Get out and vote.
When it goes along.
It's a great vote. Get out and make it happen. Dig in, ask questions. And Prop A, Prop B, it's buried somewhere on that ballot. Just get out there and ask questions. So I don't maybe hop to something else.
Yeah, good deal. I'll let y'all take, what's the next topic? I know we talked via text.
I brought up Project Marvel. You guys want to bring up something?
Where were we? What were we?
Campaigns. We talked about campaigns. Do we want to dive into that, or do we want to forego that?
You guys want to talk about Gaza or the campaign?
I want to talk about, let's talk about, because Sakib and I have this problem. So we got the Trump administration, not a problem, but we've always had these discussions. And of course, now we see, let's get a little bit global, right? A little bit outside of San Antonio, how this affects us in our community. So, you know, Trump is obviously pushing the boundaries of executive powers. I mean, he works this Gaza deal, this peace plan, which by most accounts, even his enemies in the media are saying it's a political win, at least, right? That he was able to accomplish this. But, you know, there's been a lot of destruction, there's just been a lot of trouble left in the wake of this 2-year war and how it's been handled. So Sakib and I talk about this all the time, which is, you know, how these things originate, where they happen, and what does it mean for our community? Like, we try to, a group did try to have a ceasefire resolution for Palestine done at City Hall. It didn't happen because one particular council member flipped on the issue and failed to take care of it. So, you know, what do you think, man? I mean, what if you were to, Sakib, if you were to encapsulate one or two things that concern you most about what's happening right now in your community, right? The Muslim community in San Antonio. What would it be with what's going on with Trump and Gaza? And do you think it even matters? I mean, I know it matters to the community, but do you think it even matters to San Antonio? Like, what's our stake in that battle? Period?
No, I mean, when it comes to city council, there's nothing the mayor could do. There's no mayor that can end the war. I mean, it's more so about like in a time of moral crisis, when we have the mic, what do we say? And so I was pleased that when October 7th happened, that the council made a good statement. They showed sympathy with the victims on October 7th. That's really all you can do, right? And that's the right thing to do. If they put out another resolution, it's okay. I mean, it's a piece of paper, but it's official. In the time of moral crisis that only happens ever so often, like, you said what you could say. And so the feeling was at the time. So let's go back a little. I'm not going to tell you like the history of the conflict, but I'll just tell you like the history of like the Muslim sentiment in America post 9/11. Okay. So first we were just immigrants, like South Asians, Middle Eastern people, Arabs, North Africans. We were just immigrants, right? Then 9/11 happened, and then it put a spotlight on our community, this community that wasn't prepared for it. We didn't have very strong civil rights organizations. We didn't have PR campaigns supporting us. We were just like caught like a deer in the headlights, right? And what I observed of it, one, the Patriot Act passed, a whole host of legislation that were, I mean, in a sense, I would argue dehumanizing, because it allowed the conversation, it allowed elected officials and people in charge to talk about us as if we're the other. While these conversations are happening, the war in Iraq starts. And it's not a war, right? Like, we just destroyed that place, right? Like, it's just.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a war.
There's no war. Civilian casualties were mounting, and there wasn't ever a discussion in the mainstream about these people dying. It's
Families being affected.
families being destroyed. When I say dying, I mean they're physically incinerated. Like, they're shot. That's like the easiest thing. Just get shot in the heart or the head or something. But they're like, human beings are no longer human beings anymore. They're just mush. Their blood and muscle just left on the floor. And this happens to, like, throughout the life of the war, in the first few years, over 100,000. The most conservative death count, completing the war in Iraq, was like a little over 200,000. So I'm like, man, like, we're living with this idea. We're living with this number. And it's just okay. It's just another war that just happened, right? 200,000 dead. It's done. Nobody here is crying. Even our own community, we're just like used to it. This many Muslims can die in a conflict, and it's like, okay. October 7th happens, and it's extraordinarily tragic. But what happens October 8th, October 9th, October 10th, from 2023 till just a few days ago, over 60,000 Palestinians have been killed. And what was most disappointing from council, I mean, there's only so much you can do, right? It's the bare minimum. Everyone was afraid to address it. Terry Castillo, Jalen, Mickey Rodriguez, I mean, they shined. I'm indebted to those guys, like, forever. Like, they have my support in anything they ever want to do. And I will rally the Muslim community for them in whatever they want to do. But when it came time for us, everyone else was quiet. And I won't call any council members out, but they were scared. They were scared to say the word Palestinian. I'm not Palestinian. I'm Pakistani. I'm not Arab. I'm not from the Middle East. I'm from South Asia. The only thing I have in common with them, with Palestinians, is that we have the same religion. But they're still, when did they stop being humans? I mean, the District 9 councilwoman, Missy Spears, put out a statement this morning. She put out a little video on Facebook, just expressing so much gratitude and relief that the hostages came back. And that's good. But in that 2-3 minute long video, nothing for Palestinians. And you use the term conflict and tragedy and all these things. We can just, it's official now. It's a genocide. Like, we witnessed a genocide on TikTok. Like, it's done. Chapter is, it's officially genocide. It's not a matter of opinion anymore. But we still, publicly, we have hesitancy calling it what it is. And
Well, you don't want to end up like Kirk, right?
well, I mean, there's plenty of people out there that call it a genocide. Like, they're not afraid to say it, but the people in power.
Saying behind the scenes, there's a bigger story and I hope we don't dive too hard into it because I do fear the whole idea of the narrative that sits behind what affected Charlie Kirk. But that's a big portion of, I think, why people don't talk about it. People don't want to get assassinated.
I mean,
I think people don't talk about it because you can't have a viewpoint anymore.
Yeah, but
you can have a viewpoint about potholes and basic city services, right? You can't have a viewpoint on police because you're going to start to get that you draw a dividing line. You know, like the basic question is, should we care about Palestinian deaths? That's the basic question, right? Like,
yeah,
should we care?
And we should, right?
Because of what Hamas did. So
even
I'm not saying I'm making a value judgment either way. I'm just saying you have to distill these things down to what the real decision is, right? Like, is it a genocide? I don't know. I mean, I think Israel has every right to defend themselves and destroy anybody who's out to get them, and I think they accomplished that a long time ago. Like,
yeah, I think that happened like day 2.
They're well, because they annihilated Hezbollah, they annihilated Hamas. Israel's in the strongest position they have ever been, I think, ever. Every enemy they possibly have is at this point, well, Iran is still formidable, but we've proven that Iran is not. If the United States got in a war with Iran, it'd be over in 60 days. The thing wouldn't even be a war.
There's no war.
It'd be zero. But we'd annihilate them. But my point is that, and Sakib and I have talked about this because, I'll be honest with you, we sat down, had lunch about it, and it was at length because I was praising Israel and I pinned October 7th on Hamas. And I think Hamas paid the price, and here goes 60,000 Palestinian deaths, and hey, man, collateral damage. Like, that's how people say, right? And I'm not a collateral damage guy, but I don't think it doesn't affect us in San Antonio, right? And
right.
And so people don't even people don't care. Like, it's just even within the own community.
So here's the thing: Israeli deaths also don't affect San Antonians, but we speak out for it.
Well, because the political elite are beholden.
I mean,
it's all like Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz conversation.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Ted Cruz got annihilated because he has no facts on.
Yeah, no, I mean,
on the people he wants to, on the government he wants to topple, and he said he was running and got elected on the sole system of supporting Israel, being Israel's number one, and we're seeing nationally a shift away from it, and we are seeing it in San Antonio. We just don't talk about it. But you got Mandami in New York City. That's going to be interesting. The dude's going to roll. He's going to win.
He's going to win.
So we're going to see about grocery stores that are government controlled. We're going to see about free bus passes and all this other stuff. We're going to see if his experiment.
An interesting play on New York.
Well, I mean, I don't buy it so much at 9/11. People got all pissed off about that, right? Well, here a lot of Republicans are posting that. Yeah, man, 9/11. Now we got a Muslim that's going to be running New York City. I don't care what he believes or doesn't believe. To me, that's the stupidest argument. The guy's in New York. He's a New Yorker. Like. Yeah. So who he is or what he does, I don't give a shit about that. But I think what the problem is that, like in San Antonio, we do have we're electing people that are moving towards that. Like, and that's we talked about the business community. I don't mean keep some of this focus on San Antonio, right? But I bet you if we brought a Palestinian ceasefire agreement up today, it probably does pass, because we're starting to weed through people at City Hall. And we're getting, we got Rick Galvan, former Democrat Socialist of America. Terry, DSA endorsed. Jalen, DSA endorsed. Mayor Jones, who beholden to nobody, right? Like, and she's a John Jay grad, and so am I. So I got to watch out for my fellow Mustang, but none of these people are beholden to anything that they have their core beliefs, and this is who we elect now. So it's kind of interesting to me because and Sakib did school me to an extent, because you can get wrapped up in seeing what happened on October 7th and Israel's right to defend itself, and not think about the absolute, and I don't know how you put it, man, but he went back and walked, we don't have time to do it today, but he went back and walked me through what years of oppression can feel like.
Yeah.
All we hear is sound bites.
You're talking about all the videos of like the IDF.
No. He's just talking about the occupation. He's talking about centuries of oppression.
Yeah, I remember watching it through the years, and I'm like, at what point does the Middle East, and I say the Middle East because it seemed to be affected by the IDF targeting families, and I was like, and videos were surfacing, right? You see kids getting beaten. You
Yeah.
see women getting
And this is before the genocide.
This is before the
This is
genocide.
just like
Getting a
every
rifle to
day.
their side, and you're just watching these videos, right? Because they would come up on your algorithm, and you would ask, at what point is the Middle East going to rise against? And it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. And then you saw the Hamas situation on October 7th. And then you're like, okay, things are about to unfold before our eyes. And
Yeah.
sure enough, 2 years later, they unfolded, but only in a worse manner, right? And so my thing is that at what point, I think we're at the place where a lot more people are going to stop believing the bullshit that the media has been
I think
feeding
some of the
us.
tide against Israel has moved.
Right.
I mean, significantly.
So I'm okay with council members or any elected official loving another country outside of America. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
And if they're Jewish Americans that love Israel, I get it. I'm not anti any country. But you're allowed to criticize countries.
Of course.
So the biggest critics of the Pakistani government are other Pakistanis, and the harshest critics are the Pakistanis in diaspora. They hate the government. And if anybody wants to take over the Pakistani government and flush out, drain the swamp, like Pakistanis in America and England would be the most happiest about that. And we should have that exact same tone and tenor with any other country. The fact that we aren't able to talk about it or that there's significant
Because you're labeled an
pushback-
anti-Semite or
I'll give you an example. I mean, it did hit me on the campaign trail a few times at the door.
Mhm.
So my canvassers got it more than me, but I also got it, right? I won't go into details about what people said to me.
why not?
So I didn't talk about it then for the longest time. I don't want to make San Antonio look bad. I don't want the neighborhoods to look bad.
Don't name the neighborhood, but I want to know what you dealt with, man.
I mean, somebody hit me, you know, some like an older gentleman slapped me across the chest. One guy called me a fucking Hamas. Another guy, you know, oh, it's that fucking Muslim. Like, get the fuck out of here. Spit on me. I mean,
These are real journeys of a campaign trail.
Yeah, I mean, the Express News asked me in the endorsement interview how I feel as a first Muslim candidate in a majority Catholic city. I froze at that answer because I didn't want to, you know, I feel like it's bad mouthing. I mean, I've said it now. I could say more, but I just don't want to badmouth the city. I don't want, because they were, for whoever these people were that were mean to me, there were like 100 times more people
That are
were
nice, yeah,
extra
of course.
nice to me. Like I was campaigning during Ramadan. They knew I was fasting. They asked me to break my fast with them. They brought me water. Like, that's real love. Like those people are out there, and there's way more of them. But the Israel thing, I made one tiny statement. So the ceasefire resolution that Greg is talking about, I was in a room of like 20 Muslim leaders, and the ask of them. And there were Jewish people with us. So it wasn't just Muslim. There were Christian people. There were Arab Christians. There were Jewish people with us, and it was a very beautiful coalition of people asking the city to put out this statement of just calling for a ceasefire and a return of all hostages. So I was in that meeting. I don't want to take more credit than that. Not because I'm afraid to be associated with them. I love those people. I was lucky to be associated with them. But because I just don't do as much as these people do, right? But it was mentioned somewhere that I was in that meeting, and that was enough for the San Antonio Current to make like an unfair headline. And use a photo, which later on I look back, I'm like, that's not a good photo of me. Like, why did they use that photo? But the headline was, pro-Palestine candidate seeks to replace Manny Pelaez.
I called him. I called him pretty upset about that. I thought he did it.
Yeah, no. So they didn't interview me.
Yeah,
And
I
the thing
thought,
is,
right? I remember I called you. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
please
yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
And let me interject. I'm going to cut you off because I
Sure.
want to make sure this is said. I called my friend because I was speaking from a political point of view. He's a Muslim. I'm a Catholic. And I'm a staunch supporter of Israel in so much as, you know, we're friends and allies and that kind of thing. I don't think you should go out pimping any other country before America.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say,
for a
to me,
senator to
it's
sit
always
there,
America
for a
first.
senator to sit there and say, my number one issue is, nah, I'm sorry, bro. I got a problem with you
Yeah.
now. Your number one issue is America. I don't care where you come from. If you're here with us now, you're with us. You're all in with us. But I called him and I said, hey man, don't do this. Like you can't, because I worried for him that he wasn't, people would label him what he is, right, as a Muslim. That would become his only identifying feature, and he would lose for that. And if his last name was Rodriguez, he'd be the city council member right now. That's 100% true. And I'm not calling San Antonio racist. He won't say some of these things, but I'll say them. If his name was Rodriguez, he would be the city council because his issues were right. He worked harder than anybody else. He just had the right energy and flow for it. So when I saw the Palestinian ceasefire thing, I'm like, bro, you can't talk about that. He goes, I didn't even talk to them. I mean, I was stunned, but they pigeonholed him. They pigeonholed him into it. And throughout the campaign, I would tell him, don't, and it's so hard to tell a friend, don't run from who you really are. Because the truth about political campaigns is this: you got to run a campaign to get elected so you can do what you believe. What the campaign you run is oftentimes not how you govern. But you got to win, and you get so targeted in a campaign. Okay, I got to get this. I got to get 38% of these people. I got to get 22% of this group. I got to get 18% of this group. And then I got to do this. I got to say this here. It becomes so micro-targeted that you end up having 40 different messages to 35 different groups. I mean, it's a weird thing. But you know these 17% are going to vote, so you're targeting only those 17. So I think he lost because he's a Muslim. That's the end of the story. Willie Ning is a...
Yeah, I know Willie.
Willie Ning is a Filipino. I can't remember. I think he's Filipino, right? His last name is Ning, N-G. He ran for sheriff and ran against Jerry Rickoff, a white man with a history in the city. No law enforcement experience, nothing. Jerry Rickoff had nothing. Hadn't been elected in years. Willie Ning was a 30-year SAPD officer, a detective, ran the detective shop for Bexar County, a highly qualified law enforcement professional, owns a private law enforcement company. Off the charts. He lost the Republican primary 70-30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's we vote, and it's human nature. I don't think people are racist. I think what they are is race-oriented, right? Like, you tend to believe and vote for what looks like you, who feels like you, who seems like you. That's because you don't go out and get any other information, right? So if you see a Rodriguez, well, he must know me better, and you hit the bottom line. And that's natural. So the more you get out there, you have to overcome those. It's like me. I won in a predominantly Democrat district running as a Republican. I won because I got in front of enough people and I knew what I had to do. But, Sakib was shortchanging himself. He lost, and he won't say the things that are true, which is, he lost because of there's a good chunk of it was his faith. But to his credit, he did not sell his faith out to get elected. So there's a line everybody has in a political campaign. You have to have a line. I'm not willing to sell this out to win. But I'll work on all this other stuff over here, but I'm not going to cross these lines. And it's sad for San Antonio. It's nothing against Ivelisse. I mean, Ivelisse is a fine person. I mean, we'll see how she performs. I don't know. I think Sakib would have been the best representative for that. And I showed up at his launch party in a sea full of progressive Democrats. I'm standing there like a fool.
I loved it though.
But
I loved it.
I voted for him. I'm a District 8 resident. I voted for Sakib. And by the way, I met him because I was fasting Ramadan while I was on the city council. I'm going to tell everybody who's listening, and then we got a couple more minutes. I want to make sure we hit anything else because I do got to hit the road. But and I'm sorry, people, because my son forgot his golf club, so I got to go all the way home and pick him up.
We'll do another episode.
But if you are a fool, 100%, you're a fool. If you don't take the time to find something out, like if you don't decide. I could sit here and have problems with the Muslim community all day long because I'm a supporter of Israel, and I believe in what they're doing, and I'm happy they went in there and smoked Hamas and Hezbollah. I'm thrilled about it. I think it's fantastic.
Hamas is still in power, by the way.
By the way, the ceasefire is still going to – ceasefire will probably fall through. Hamas doesn't know where half those dead hostages are still left. They're
Israel
gone.
already violated the ceasefire.
Yeah, well, they're both violating the ceasefire. So,
no. Well, sorry.
But my point is that get your butt out of your house.
Right.
And go do something different. Like I've never had a more valuable, I'll never forget it. I was sitting when I was fasting this Ramadan, and I wasn't really fasting it. I think I did it for 2 days. Like I was struggling bad. Horribly struggling with it. I'm thinking to myself, how long does it go on for?
30 days?
30 days. Like I'm dying, right? But 2 days in, I'm like, this is horrendous. Like the level of commitment it takes to do that. You don't know it until so you got it. San Antonio, you got to get out there and Go live it. Go sit in something else. Go do something. Go talk with a Democrat. Go sit down at, I think we said at Baklava, and we talked about this October 7th stuff. He pissed me off. I'm not going to lie. He pissed me off. And I pissed him off. And then here we are today, like, okay, man, this is cool. But I'll never forget, I was sitting at that thing after fasting. We were breaking. I showed up in the last couple of days to break the fast. And this is going to sound terrible, but my breath was out of control.
Well, that's how it is.
Yeah. And I didn't understand. And then somebody told me, I don't know who it was. He goes, oh, no, that's the breath of God.
It's not the breath of God, but it's
that's what he said.
It's like considered like perfume.
He was trying to speak to me in my Catholic terms, and I don't understand. He's like, no. He goes, I'm trying to help you in what you understand. He was trying to speak to me as a Catholic, and I thought that was super cool. Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing, man? He goes, well, you're Catholic, right?
This is a Muslim that you met.
Yes, he was one of the leaders, one of the clerical leaders. He's like, nice. I'm trying to relate to you in your faith. I'm like, oh, bro, you don't have to do that. And right there, I thought to myself, he was trying to explain it to me in a way
that you would understand it.
Yeah, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. I'm in your home. He goes, no, you're welcome here, brother. Like, he was like, I'll never forget that moment because I still think about it when I tell people about it. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with the LGBT community. I mean, I have a great story about that. I don't have time to talk about it today, but I have a great story about somebody that opened my eyes to the LGBT community and the things that they struggle in San Antonio. And this happened 15, 18 years ago. I still remember it. So, get your butt out of the chair, man. I mean, if you're gonna want to be a part of a community, if you're gonna have the guts to go online and
the average person won't, though.
The average person won't. And it's sad because we should have Sakib as the District 8 council member. And we'll be lesser for it. So, real quickly, I wrap up. I think that ceasefire is probably already tanked, right? So what does Gaza and all that mean for San Antonio? I think we're electing people who are starting to move towards a more global sense, or at least a more nationalized sense of who we are and what we're trying to be. And that's why we're seeing struggles. We're seeing struggles with Project Marvel. We're seeing struggles with where we spend our money. We're seeing people making statements about national issues and global issues. We saw with the Palestinian thing, and the cowards will get exposed. Here's the beauty of where we're going as a city. If you are a coward now in politics, you will get exposed. The coward being, you're not telling us what you think. And the coward that screwed Sakib and the Palestine, I would not have voted for the Palestinian ceasefire agreement. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have voted for it. But I would have let it have a vote. It didn't even get a vote. If you have an idea and you can pitch it to the council, you can get in front of them, everybody deserves a vote. If you lose, man. That's on you. The coward, Manny Pelaez, flipped and wouldn't give that an opportunity to be heard. And it goes with Ron Nirenberg, too. You got the guts and you say who you are, put it on the ballot and let's see where it ends up. That's the greatest scoreboard in American history, is the voter box. Election day is the greatest scoreboard of who leads who and who believes what. And we failed on that agreement, not because it needed to pass. We failed because it didn't even get a vote. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, first lesson of PR is keep your mouth shut and don't talk if something contentious comes up. I think that, Nirenberg and Pelaez were pretty strategic in what they did. I don't agree with it, but I mean, we have to acknowledge that. And I think it's harder to hide. That used to be the first lesson of PR, right? Just keep your mouth shut. Don't do it. But in today's day, with everything on the forefront, everyone has a phone in front of them. It's getting harder and harder to do.
Can't hide.
And so, you can't hide. And so the exposure is coming. Like, you're going to get exposed the more that you put, and in my opinion, I'm not going to name any names, but in my opinion, there are still council members in our city of San Antonio that put bullshit out. And it's just like, people are starting to read through it. You think you're going to get away with that?
No, man. But, let's wrap up with, if we can, I wrap up my part, a prediction on Project Marvel, and then what we would like to change about San Antonio. My prediction on Project Marvel is it goes down. I think it loses. Maybe I'm this wishful thinking. I think it's fails 52-48. I think it goes down. Spurs get to 48-47. I think we go back to the drawing board and we see who the Spurs really are, and we see who City Hall really is. And what I would change about San Antonio, I would force our elected officials to do their work in front of people. So one of the things I always want to do was make City Hall accessible. And I think we got to go to where the people are. And I would do city council meetings out in the community in the evenings. And I would force our leaders to be present, because they don't do their jobs if they're not present. and they don't understand it. And that eliminates the business community, and not eliminates it, but it minimizes and gives power to people. And I just think this is who we have. So we got to support our city hall. I mean, we got to do the best we can to help. We got to do it through them. This is who we elected 4 years. So that's what I would do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Small thing, but
So I also think Project Marvel is going to fail.
Yeah.
Like the vote, the Prop A and B are both going to fail. If I could change one thing about how San Antonio works, one thing I talked about on the campaign, I started off with 2 or 3 agenda items for the campaign, and then they changed over time as I started talking to people and learning more about the issues. One issue that is really at the crux of why San Antonio misses out on so many things is because we don't have enough high-paying jobs. The reason why we don't have enough high-paying jobs, we just don't have the labor pool that would fill those roles, right? And oftentimes people's solution is, well, we need more people. We need to bring in people, which is fine. But what about the people that already live here? So even though I ran in the north side, and we don't have that same kind of problem in the north side, my thoughts were always with the south side, the west side, and the east side. Because they're missing out. I feel, I used to think about the young people and what the future of opportunity would look like for them. It would be really depressing because you see these kids in multi-generational households having to stay in because they can't buy properties. And even if they save the money, the housing stock is in such dilapidated condition that oftentimes lenders won't lend for those houses. So they have to get higher interest loans. And it's just a cycle of poverty, a cycle of bad decisions.
Yeah, I can see that. I do think Project Marble fails, although I think it's going to be close. And I want to say it fails, but I do feel like if they play their cards right in the next couple weeks, it could pass. It could pass. I was talking about that last week, a week ago. But I do think ultimately it fails if people begin to dig into the details, and that's the catalyst, whether it's failure or not. What I would change about San Antonio is, much like you're thinking, they say it's the labor pool. To me, it's not necessarily the labor pool, because if you talk to any motivated individual who wants to work, who wants to be a part of a project, you could find them in any community. I do believe in that, degreed or not. However, I think that the motivating factor to economic development starts at the root of the bigger movement. And who is at the crevice of that bigger movement? Higher education institutions. I feel like a lot of them are too infiltrated by current private sector dynamics, and they're motivated for the wrong reasons at the higher institutions. I think that they need to put their foot down and establish a status quo of, this is what we want. And it comes through a committee, right? It's not just one school in an echo chamber, one school in an echo chamber. It's all of these schools, UTSA, Trinity, UIW, St. Mary's, Our Lady of the Lake, coming together and saying, this is our vision for San Antonio. We need to begin to pave that path. And it starts with that kind of movement, reaching out to other investors, reaching out to the students on what motivates them. Because I feel a lot of them are just, they're shutting the students' motivations out. And I think the more you do that, the less change you're going to have in the private sector. I think a lot of that is moved through these higher institutions. So that's my take. That's what I would change to San Antonio.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for joining me today.
This was fun.
I think we need to do this
Should
again.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I'm sorry. We'll blame it on my son and his golf clubs today, but we should do this more often. It's a great studio. And here's the thing. I close with this, but if a Muslim kid with Pakistani roots running for city council, and me, I've been a lifelong San Antonian, Catholic boy, military guy, you clearly a businessman, way smarter, forgotten more about finance than I'll ever learn, and your roots and your history. If we could sit down and talk about it, everybody can. So this is bullshit that we can't say the things we think and not walk away and come back still friends.
Right.
So we got to work on that. So
I agree.
I appreciate your time, man. It's good stuff.
Thank you guys. All right.
Thanks.